What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. We are back. Going to talk a little bit more about meth. The other video did pretty well. I got a lot of really cool comments from you guys. I know we covered a lot of the signs, loss of weight, change in behavior, change in lifestyle, staying awake for days at a time, lying about stuff, getting into the paranoia. Some people end up getting into the psychosis. I know for me, I thought undercovers were after me. I thought that people were plotting on me all the time, trying to kill me. It was some scary, scary stuff. And the thing about meth is you'll see a very quick just change in sometimes their weight, especially their behavior. That we talked about the anger last time, being angry all the time. That could be when you're on it. It could also be when you're not on it. I know for me, I started to isolate from people. I couldn't really. The thing about that drug is you can't really do it around your other friends that just drink. So a lot of times we have these different groups of people where, I hang out with this person, I go to the bars with this person, and I smoke weed with this guy from work, and we go to the weed clinic, and at least they have them in California. They have for years. I think they're everywhere now, but and then I would have like the underground friends that I would do the hard drugs with. And what started to happen as time went on, because I couldn't tell all the different groups of friends that I was doing that drug. Like, it's just not socially acceptable. So I would start isolating from kind of the good friends or the friends that weren't doing the hard drugs. And I fell further and further into that scene. And I found that when I didn't do it, we talked about a lot of the dopamine levels, how they were depleted when we get sober. Many of us find ourselves dealing with depression, and a lot of things just don't seem fun when we get off of it. It's not the excitement of that drug. And even though it causes a lot of problems, man, we get used to that kind of roller coaster, the high highs, the low lows, always something going on, tons of drama. There was a couple things I forgot to mention and as kind of signs, and some people will end up picking their face like crazy. And that was something that I didn't do for years, but I found myself towards the end. I did it a couple times where I got stuck in the mirror for hours. There was one time where I literally picked my face for like 10 hours straight. I looked horrendous. I remember friends seeing me the next day and they were like, dude, what is going on with you? You look like The Walking Dead. And get this. So you'd think that'd make me want to say, ooh, man, something's going on with me. Things are starting to change. It's making me do things I've never done before. Maybe I need to stop. I didn't stop. I did this. I ended up getting more of it, and I did the same thing the next day. And this was right before my overdose that brought me into sobriety. And it was so bad. My face was so picked out that when I went to the hospital for my overdose the next day, I got checked into the ER, the ambulance brought me. They had my room like cautioned off, like literally like yellow tape. They were scared to go in there because they thought I had some crazy like disease or something. They didn't know what was going on with me, but really what it was just my face all picked out 2 days in a row. So embarrassing stuff. Do I tell a lot of people about this? No. Will I share about it when I'm talking about a video like this? Maybe someone's been through it. Maybe you've seen a loved one that's had their face all picked out like that. It happens. I don't know if it's from the horrendous chemicals that's in that stuff. I don't know if it's just getting stuck on it and just looking in the mirror and you think all this stuff's going on. I don't know if it's part of the psychosis. I don't know what it is, but some people, it happens. I also want to talk about getting stuck. That's another thing I forgot to mention in the other video. People that use speed, man, they can get stuck. I don't know if you've ever seen like women take everything out of their purse. Maybe they're homeless. Maybe they're on the sidewalk and they've got everything out of their purse and they're like organizing it and putting everything away. And man, that used to be me. I remember I'd be meeting up with friends and I'd say, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Dude, sometimes I'd call him back like hours later. I had no sense of time. That's another potential sign is just you lose track of time. It goes by fast. I remember one time I was sitting in this room and I kept saying, what's that flash? And I realized, oh, that's not a flash. That's it going from day to night. I'd been stuck in there for so long. But I don't have to live that way anymore, man. I've got over 5 years sober. It was not an easy road. Let me tell you, I've got a lot of comments from you guys recently saying, look, and I'm going to go over some of them, but look, I'm 111 days sober and I'm getting off this stuff, and it's brutal. It is brutal. We talked about a lot of things that can help when getting off. I know for me, I found solace in exercise. It was kind of a spiritual thing for me. It got the dopamine going when nothing else would. When everything seemed boring for whatever reason, I'd go to the gym and I'd exercise or I'd work out. And I talked about just walking out of there and just being like, okay, I feel okay today. Like there's some neurons firing in the brain today. Like I feel a little bit of that dopamine. I feel a little bit of endorphins. Maybe, just maybe, I can make it through today. A couple other things that I did. I really had to break away. I had to get away from that lifestyle. It's so alluring. It pulls you in. It's that excitement. I had to get off of social media. A lot of the kind of transactions and talking to people that were in that world was done through social media, and it helped for me to really break away. I ended up getting a new phone. I knew I was actually ready this time because I was finally willing to do that. I'm the type of person that I go to rehab, and because the heat's on me, and I know that I'm getting just insane problems in addiction, and I know that it's the right thing to want to get sober, but I was never quite there yet. So I'd go into treatment and they'd say, man, you got to get rid of your phone. You got to get new contacts. And I'm the type of guy, I'm getting the new phone, but I'm saving a couple connects. I'm saving those numbers just in case, because I always had reservations. I was never 100% fully in. And looking back on that now, I was scared. I was scared about living life without having a substance to turn to, because I know that it's ruining my life, but for whatever reason, I'm just uncomfortable sober. I'm uncomfortable sober, and I like having something to turn to. Even if it is literally destroying me, I like having something to turn to. So it helps to finally, if you're committed and you're ready, we got to break away. We have to break away from those old places. Especially with the meth, like it's not like drinking. You get sober from alcohol. Maybe you stop going to as many bars or whatever the case. You're still going to be around people that drink from time to time. You can't avoid it. There's always going to be alcohol at weddings or celebrations or people's birthdays or out to dinner with family members you haven't seen in a while. Like alcohol is going to be around you. But we can't put ourselves around meth. Like we have to go out of our way to put ourselves around that stuff. And we got to make sure that we could somehow break away from it. I'm telling you though, man, if you can, you don't even know. If you are like me, someone who was full of shame, full of regret, full of fear, I used to just replay mentally all the things that I destroyed in addiction. I was always keeping score, if that makes sense. I'm keeping score of every relationship I ruined, all the years I spent locked up for doing stupid stuff, all of just everything I stole, everything I destroyed. I'm keeping track of all of that, and I'm replaying it in my head over and over all day long, essentially as a survival tool to push me back into using. It's almost like addiction's survival tool was to use these thoughts and replay all these negative things that have gone on in my life and things that I've destroyed over and over again in an attempt to isolate me, make me feel like shit, make my self-esteem and self-worth be absolutely horrible, so that guess what? I can justify going back to that stuff. And I had to break that. And recovery and getting sober, it allowed me to finally break that, because all of a sudden I was doing things that weren't just breaking me down anymore. And I started to get support, and I started to try and find things that I could do to to have fun sober. And I had these new friends, and I started to get this peace in my life. And I recognized it as boredom in the beginning, but I realized that I was just adjusting to not being used to chaos all the time. I was so used to chaos and addiction all the time. Like something was always going on. Oh man, they're trying to take my car away. Oh, I just got another form of probation. Oh, they're violating me. Oh, my PO wants to send me to this rehab. Oh, I just went through a breakup. Like something was always going on, always. And then all of a sudden I got sober. I broke away from a lot of the old people, and I wasn't going to the Connect's house. And I started working again, and I started to understand how good it felt to show up and make legit money, not selling drugs, but show up when I was supposed to, work a hard day's work, and get off. And I started to realize, ooh, I feel decent with that. And I started doing the exercise consistently, and I realized, ooh, I feel decent doing this. And I got back into all these activities and started to explore new stuff for fun, because I'm a firm believer that if we don't find a way to enjoy this new life, if we can't, like, our goal is not just to stay off the substances. Like, that's great. That's what we're doing in the beginning. We're almost holding on for dear life, just trying to make it past any day that we can sober. And every day that we do make it through sober is a win. But eventually, I think we got to get comfortable and enjoy life sober. Somehow, some way. I would not be at 5 years sober today if I did not enjoy this new life. But it wasn't easy. It was not easy. So I just wanted to hop on here, guys. I haven't made a video myself in a while. I just wanted to really just say thank you for the support. If there's someone out there that is struggling, man, put something in the comments. Let us know what's going on with you. I've really appreciated hearing all the different stories and hearing the different lengths of sobriety that people are at, and kind of stuff that you could relate to in this video, stuff that you can't relate to, stuff that maybe I could talk about with guests that come on the podcast. I wanted to go over a couple of questions real quick, or comments. We had Breeze and Max 9 hours ago. Thank you for posting this. I'm in the beginning stages of trying to help my nephew get clean, and my first thoughts where we would exercise and eat healthy and start a new routine. Yeah, man, it's crazy what happens when we start to do that. When we just, we start treating ourselves well instead of beating ourselves up all the time. Instead of putting these poisonous chemicals into our body and putting ourselves into psychosis or withdrawal, or making us lose a bunch of weight, or making us have to detox and go through the pain of that, all of a sudden we're eating well. All of a sudden we're working out. All of a sudden we're hanging out with solid friends that really care about our well-being. Things start to change. I had another comment here. It says, overcoming the triggers is the most challenging, not the meth itself. Yeah, I think it's hard when I think you have to identify some of your triggers. Like, a lot of my triggers for me were kind of that self-loathing and constantly beating myself up over things that had gone on in addiction, to the point where I felt so terrible about myself and so uncomfortable sober that I just reached for anything for some relief. And so I think it's really important to find out what your triggers are, because I could sit here all day talking about my triggers, but they could be completely different than yours. We may have some that are same, but we may have a lot that are completely different. So I think it's really identifying, looking back on your past, looking at some of your relapses, looking at what was going on the 1 to 3 months prior to that exact date that you picked up, and see if you recognize any patterns. And once we start to recognize those patterns, we could start using some contrary action and come up with a plan to not fall victim to those same patterns again. I couldn't care less about weed or beer. None of that affects my partner's behavior. Meth, yes. He sleeps 12 hours a day. I know he's been doing this for years. His flip-flop in behavior is horrid. He has a bunch of anger. Yeah, the flip-flop in behavior is crazy. I've seen reliable, trustworthy, just respectful people, kind people that are driven and have a drive for life and want to help people, and I've seen them just change. I don't want to say overnight, but pretty quickly. It changes you. It changes your demeanor. It changes your outlook on life. It changes your behavior. It changes the way that you treat other people. It changes the way that you think about yourself. It's scary, and it almost changes you so quickly that you don't even realize it. But the problem is a lot of other people do, and it took me a long time to see that. Thank you for that comment. It's a depression, horrible depression when I'm trying to come off of it. Yeah, we talked about this a lot on the last one. It's, you know what? It almost feels like it's never going to get better. Like I look back on the early days and nothing was enjoyable. Nothing was fun. Nothing was exciting. And I'm sitting there in a sober living, and I went to detox, and then I went to rehab, and I'm sitting in sober living, and I had this terrible job, and I wasn't driving. I'm taking the bus, and I'm just like, dude, I'm 31 years old. What's going on with my life? How did I end up here? And I was so focused on how I ended up there, and you know what got better was focusing on how I could get out of there and what I was going to do day to day to just feel a little bit better. And one thing I want to remind everyone too is, like, when you look at people that have been sober for years and they feel they look better and they feel better and they're talking about how great sobriety is for them, you've got to remember, like, they weren't like that in the first couple months. Like, when I talk about my sobriety today at over 5 years, I was not like that the first few months. I wasn't like that the first year. I barely even got sleep the first month. I was detoxing the meth and opiates so hard. Like, the meth made me want to sleep, but the opiates made it so I couldn't. And it was brutal, and it was grueling. And I remember as I'm sitting there in that sober living, I'm just like, dude, I can't stand this. So on one hand, you have me, sober living, having these like meetings a couple times a week, having all these little chores, making no money, having tons of debt, having multiple probations, having just all this stuff going on, right? That's on one hand. And then you got, like, leave the place, pick up drugs, go get high, feel way up here, at least for that first couple days. It's like, which one, it's so hard to continue to go to the thing that doesn't feel good now, but if you stick with it, it'll feel better later. See, I was always willing to trade my mental health and my peace of mind today. Like, I'll throw that away, and my peace of mind and mental health for months to come. I'll throw that away to go get high right now, because I lived in let's get high now and worry about it later. And I just won't do that today. That's been the main difference. Is I realized today that it's just not worth it anymore. So if anyone is sitting in that kind of state of mind early on, where you're battling the depression, you don't think anything's going to get better. Maybe you're just doing all this stuff and you don't really understand why. You're like, dude, this is so boring. This sucks. I don't enjoy anything right now. Man, just keep going. Just keep going. Just try and hold on to the idea that things are going to change. And remember this too, when you hear people that have been sober for years talking about how good it is, remember that they all were once where you are at right now. All of us. No one enjoyed it straight from the beginning, yet all of us enjoy it now. Please remember that. I hope you can remember that when you're going through those rough days where you want to give up and just say, man, they said it's going to get better, and everyone who's been sober for a little bit, a decent amount of time, says it gets better. That's a consistent. Everyone says it gets better. So please remember that. I want to answer one more, guys. I don't like to make these too long because I know people don't like to watch long-ass videos, but 100% right about not sleeping. It's by far the worst side effect. When you stop sleeping, it's over. Meth worked great for me for about 2+ years, and then it turned against me badly. It's miserable. I'm in a constant state of exhaustion and pissed off. Yeah, I can relate to that. It works. People always say, how did you end up on meth? See, because you have all these pictures of people who have like lost all their teeth and are locked up, and you see like each time they're locked up, kind of, I think they call it the faces of meth, where you see they look older and older and older. And it's like, how could you end up using this stuff? Well, it's like, that doesn't happen overnight. First time I got high on meth, I didn't lose my teeth. I didn't have to pawn my car. I didn't have to lose everything in my life. I didn't start losing jobs. I didn't get locked up right away. Like, none of that. It's magical in the beginning. Gives you a ton of energy, allows you to work long hours. Everything's fun. Everything is exciting, hyper-focused. But eventually it turns on you. Eventually it does. Some of us, it's like right away. Other people, it's years later. Some people are pretty functional with it for a long time. But eventually it seems like they want to get off of it too. Because I've talked to people that have been functional for like decades, and all of a sudden they get off of it and they're like, man, life's just better now. It's just better now. At the very least, they're not just spending all their money on that and having to hide it or whatever, so that's all I got, guys. I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to come on here. It's raining in California. Haven't made a video myself in a while. Wanted to say what's up to you guys. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is crazy. And I know some people's YouTube channels, they have hundreds of thousands, and they'd be like, 1,000, that's nothing. Man, that's a lot for me. Seems like a month and a half ago we were at 200. So I think it's exciting stuff. I appreciate your guys' support. I'd love to hear some comments from you guys. It's one of my favorite things. It's just hearing the different sobriety dates and stuff that you can relate to, maybe stuff you disagree with. I don't care. I just love to hear the comments. So let's go, guys. Let's get let's turn this thing around. If you're out there struggling, I hope that you start building support. I hope that you start taking it day by day. I hope you get out there exercising, get the dopamine going, get in the sun, get some music, get off social media, get away from all those old places that cause us a lot of problems. Get out of those destructive friendships or relationships that are constantly bringing you back down. Distance yourself from the people that are always throwing your addiction in your face and trying to keep you down here, and do what's going to work for you. Find some type of support, whether that is spiritual stuff at church, whether that is 12-step stuff, whether it's some online form. I don't care what it is. Do not do this alone. Thanks for checking out the video, guys.